votes are in and the November election is coming into focus. Tonight, meet your supervisor candidates. Farewell, Dr. McGahey. As the school year comes to a close, so does the tenure of Oskaloosa School Superintendent. You'll hear her parting words. And we'll look into the gardening trend that is growing in Oskaloosa's backyards. These stories and more tonight on CRI Weekly News for June 11th, 2010.
This is CRI Weekly News, bringing you local coverage of Oskaloosa and Mahaska County.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Patrick Boberg. Jonathan Gregg is off this week. In our top story, the primary elections are over, kicking off the race toward the November general election. While there were several statewide races to watch, the race for county supervisor had the most local impact. There were 7 individuals seeking the Republican Party nomination for 2 Mahaska County Board of Supervisor spots. At the end of the day, newcomer Ken Rosenboom and 3-term incumbent Greg Gordy secured the most votes. According to the county auditor, Rosenboom received the most votes with 1,602.
I'm very gratified with the support I had, and people are kind, and they've placed some confidence in me now, and I appreciate that. And so I feel very ready.
Supervisor Gordy came in second with 1,098 votes.
There was a good turnout over twice what there had been the last 2 elections, so I think a very good turnout with the Republican primary here. So I was very pleased. Appreciate the voters for all their support.
With 2 positions open, each registered Republican voter could vote for 2 candidates. A candidate had to receive 35% of the vote, which according to a formula used by the county auditor was 810 votes. Rosenboom and Gordy were the only ones to receive that many votes. There are currently no Democrats running for the position. As it stands, Gordy and Rosenboom will be running unopposed in November. 2,961 Mahaska County residents went to the polls on Tuesday. That turnout is almost triple the primary turnout 2 years ago, when an even 1,000 Mahaska County residents cast their votes.
Now's the time to go ahead and make the changes that are necessary, so I could either stay at home or do something about it, and this is the way you do something about it.
In other election news, the race for the Republican candidacy for governor, Terry Branstad handedly beat runner-up Bob Vanderplaats by almost 10 percentage points. However, it seems that Mahaska County voters would have wished things had turned out differently. Vanderplaats received more than twice the number of votes than Branstad in this county. 64.5% of the voters opposed to 31.4%. For complete election results, visit our website at www.criwnpennu.org and click on Primary Election News link. The city of Oskaloosa is considering a program requiring beefed-up inspections on rental properties. CRI's Molly Thorvaldson joins us at the desk. Molly, what can you tell us about the program?
Well, Patrick, for probably as long as Oskaloosaans can remember, there's been a big void when it comes to rental properties. There are no laws, no regulations, and no enforcements for periodic inspections on general home and apartment rentals.
I'm not a code expert, I'm not a building inspector, I'm not certified, but I think there are a number of properties that you can see around town that probably need some addressing.
In fact, the only rentals in the city that get any sort of checkup are for renters receiving government assistance.
The purpose is to ensure that the houses that are being subsidized are decent, safe, and sanitary.
That inspection looks for things like electrical hazards, security, and structural conditions. Still, renters' stories of issues like unbearable mold seem to fall through the cracks, making some of Oskaloosa's rental homes and apartments nearly unlivable.
If we're going to really talk about cleaning up the community as a whole, not just residential, homes, but rental properties, this is a type of program that needs to be in place too.
And now the city is working to develop a plan, one that was once in the works but was never put to use. City Manager Michael Schrock says this proposed rental inspection program would address living concerns like the safety and appearance of homes and apartments.
Making sure that there are quality rental units out there.
The new plan would include an inspector checklist, so landlords of rental buildings like this one would have someone to answer to and a code to follow. But the city is just in the beginning stages. Comparing rental inspection programs in other cities gives Oskaloosa an idea of what works and what doesn't.
Specifically, Bettendorf's program is administered by the fire department. That's an interesting concept. I think that's something I'd like to look into a little further.
Now it's up to the city and the council to work out the details and set a plan into action.
If they want the program based on the community's input, it'll happen. If not, we'll find another way of getting these properties addressed.
As the law stands, renters are on their own for now, but the city is hoping to get the new plan moving forward within the next year. And Patrick, we would like viewers to tune in to CRI in the near future for more updates on that inspection plan.
Well, thanks, Molly. If you would like to share your Oskaloosa renting experience with CRI, please send an email to the address at the bottom of your screen. So currently, Oskaloosa has little to no safeguards protecting renters from dangerous living conditions. The CRI wanted to know your reaction to those findings, which brings us to Oskaloosa Speaks Out with CRI's AJ Hodgman.
This week on Oskaloosa Speaks Out, we asked residents what they think about the proposed rental inspection program in Oskaloosa and what they think about the overall quality of rental properties here in town. Here's what they had to say.
I think a lot of them are overpriced, and for what you get or what people are paying for to live in, they need to be able to have some certain standards that apply before they can just charge whatever they want.
I haven't rented, but I know a guy who rents, and the quality of the places he rents are pretty good, and he does all the work on them for the people who live there, and so I think his quality is pretty good, but I don't know a whole lot about anyone else's quality and what they rent, I guess.
You're not an Oskaloosa resident, but you know people that rent here. Yeah. What has been your impression of the quality of rental properties here in town when you visit?
I think a lot of the rental properties are pretty nice. There's a lot of them that could use a lot of work. There's a lot of people that rent houses and then run them down, and I don't think that's right. I like architecture, I like old buildings, and I think old buildings really should be taken care of.
While only a few talked to us on camera, off camera, many expressed the fact that they would like to see a rental inspection program in Oskaloosa, believing that it would greatly benefit the community. If there's a question you'd like to see featured on Oskaloosa Speaks Out, send us an email to info@criwmpenu.org. For CRI Weekly News, I'm AJ Hodgman.
Since March, the Oskaloosa Police Force has been operating one officer short because of a budget crunch, and soon another officer will leave Oski streets due to relocation. This leaves two openings for Police Chief Jake McGee to fill, one at the end of June and the other in September. Candidates for the spots completed a number of screening processes, including a physical test that includes a timed mile-and-a-half run, as many push-ups and sit-ups as an applicant can finish in a minute, and the sit and reach test. Those standards depend on gender and age. CRI wanted to know if long-standing officers on the force were required to complete physical tests throughout their employment. According to Chief McGee, there are 2 voluntary tests each year, and he doesn't anticipate any mandatory testing in the near future.
We follow what the state guidelines are, and until the state actually comes out with something that says that physical testing is required, I do not see us doing that.
McGee estimates that 75% of his force choose to complete those voluntary tests, and if they pass, they earn 4 hours of comp time. People commuting north of Oskaloosa on Highway 63 have probably noticed some heavy traffic. For the last few weeks, crews have been resurfacing and widening the highway. The Iowa DOT says this will improve 63's safety and make it more drivable. The one-lane backups you may have noticed should only last through the rest of June. And into the fall, you should expect mostly shoulder work that should be less intrusive to your daily commute. So far, the DOT says the roadwork is on schedule, and the only thing that could set them back is the rain. June 21st, that's the official start of summer, and if the weather we've encountered recently is any indication, it's going to be a hot one. To help us prepare for the heat, the state recognized this past Thursday, June 10th, as the inaugural Heat Awareness Day. Iowans may be veterans of hot and humid summers, but Mahaska County Emergency Management Coordinator Jamie Robinson says there are a few things that will easily prepare you for the heat.
Just basically keep hydrated. Make sure that if you have your baby out in a stroller or your kids out on their bikes, that you've got sunscreen on, that you've got plenty of water. Try to stay away from the alcoholic beverages and caffeine. Water is the best source of hydration.
One good indicator of dangerously hot temperatures are heat advisories. The National Weather Service will issue a heat advisory when humidity pushes the actual air temperature above 105 degrees during the day and 80 degrees at night. Jamie Robinson says the symptoms of heat exhaustion are common and easy to detect.
Just start to feel real weak, possibly getting dizzy and lightheaded. They could potentially pass out from the heat. It can just sneak up on them depending on how bad it is.
Make sure to pay attention to local weather forecasts and MahaskaReady.com for heat advisories throughout the summer. The Oskaloosa School District has re-examined its stadium resolution. Find out the new plans after the break.
Some might say music is the universal language, understood by all. On the next Oskaloosa Today, we meet a man who spent his entire life speaking the language of music, spreading the word of God through song and dance. Meet Tim McIntyre. He's produced, directed, starred in, and written more than 7,000 shows over the last 50 years. This is his Curtain Call. Watch Oskaloosa Today Curtain Call, Wednesday at 8 on MCG Channel 12.
Tuesday, the school board approved a team of 2 former Oskaloosa school board presidents to head the planning process to renovate the Oskaloosa Community Stadium. This is after an ongoing debate between the district's options of this renovation or using the new and upcoming William Penn Stadium. The William Penn Stadium is expected to be completed in the spring of 2011. Mike Foster and David Meinert presented their desire to lead the plans of the renovation to the school board. The 2 planners say they are just starting with ideas. They do not know what changes will be made or where the money will come from.
Again, our goal, as we stated in there, is to do this at as minimal expense to the school district as possible. What that means, we don't know yet. You know, we're just at the very beginning stages of this.
There is no projected timeline for the renovations. The Oskaloosa School District dismissed its students for the summer on Wednesday. However, at the high school, it wasn't just students who said goodbye. A retirement reception celebrating school superintendent Dr. Carolyn McGahey took place Wednesday afternoon inside the school board room at the George Daly Auditorium. Faculty, friends, and community members gathered to wish Dr. McGahey well as she exits Oskaloosa after 9 years of service. McGahey has led many school initiatives since taking the helm back in 2001, but she says the one thing she's most proud of is her effort to outfit the school with good facilities.
When I first came to Oskaloosa, we were in the midst of developing new buildings and remodeling old buildings and a construction program. And so the facilities that we currently have are a result of that effort.
When asked how she feels about leaving Oskaloosa, McGahey had this to say.
Oskaloosa is a wonderful community, and I just wish the incoming superintendent and the staff, as they continue to work on behalf of students, the very, very best of luck, and certainly I know they're going to be successful in all their endeavors.
What's next for Dr. McGahey? She plans to move back to her home state of Texas and teach at the university level. Oskaloosa's 42nd annual Art on the Square is happening downtown tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Attractions around the square will include artwork, food vendors, musical entertainment, and children's activities. Chamber Events Coordinator Karen Hafner says there are more artists attending this year's festival than last year's.
We had about 55 last year, and we're up to 60 this year, and I don't think that's too bad. A lot of artists aren't traveling like they used to, you know, with the way things are, and I think that's why we have some fairly new ones.
During the event, there will also be a raffle. $5,000 will be spread out between 20 winners. Winners will receive an individual voucher ranging in value from $100 to $500 and can be spent on anything at Art on the Square. Raffle tickets are on sale and will be available to purchase during Saturday's event until 11:30 a.m. For more information about Art on the Square, go to our website, www.criwmpennu.org, and click on the Art on the Square link. There's a growing trend in Oskaloosa, literally. According to Earl May and Hy-Vee Garden Centers, more people are buying into gardening and growing their own food. CRI reporter John Hoffman brings us this story and a view from one gardener who has been digging in the dirt as long as she can remember.
Alice Iverson knows the value of a home garden. She's been doing it for almost 67 years.
I have tomatoes, green beans, more tomatoes. It's a peaceful place to come out and just work a bit, and it's also very rewarding because you have off of these plants I will probably can 30 to 40 pints of tomatoes. We will have all that we can use and plenty to share.
These are what we call vine crops, and these are going to...
Jerry Barrickman, manager of the Earl May Garden Center, has seen a similar interest of Alice Iverson spreading throughout the community.
Yeah, last year we've seen the biggest increase, last year 2009, and the increase there in the garden seed department was somewhere around 25%. We had a 25% increase. In the garden plant area, we're looking around 15%. This year we're going to top out around 10% in the plants and 15% in the garden seed lineup.
It's a twofold garden. Really enjoy it as a hobby, but also it's eating fresh, and economically it's, I think, a movement where a lot of people are going to just supplement their grocery bills.
And while it may be too late for you to plant some seeds, many of the nurseries in town have plants that have already been started and are ready for your garden. For CRI Weekly News, I'm John Hoffman.
One food that is all about the way that it is grown is organic produce, which happens to be the spotlight of this week's Eating Healthy segment. In cooperation with Oskaloosa Hy-Vee Store, the CRI continues its series to educate all of us about eating healthy. Here is Hy-Vee registered dietitian Stephanie Tucker to tell us about organic produce.
Well, what I want to talk about today with the organic produce specifically is just to help people figure out actually what the word organic means. What it really means is that the organically grown fruits and vegetables must be produced without any pesticides, herbicides, synthetic fertilizers, hormones, or any genetically engineered seeds. So I just want everybody to know that nutritionally you can still eat all the conventionally prepared and processed fruits and vegetables and still be perfectly fine. But if you kind of want to go that extra mile and get it without chemicals and support local organic farmers, you can go the organic route. People think organic means nutritious or more nutritious, but I just want people to know that organic actually just means a different way of growing and preparing foods. One thing you may notice is that it tends to be a little bit more expensive. So I don't expect everybody to be able to necessarily afford all organic food, but maybe if you wanted to just start and pick out a couple organic fruits, that might be a good place to start.
School's out, but don't worry, CRI still has your sports recap after the break.
AJ here. I'm inviting you to come with me on my one-day getaway.
I'm taking you out to the ball game. I headed to Des Moines Principal Park to take in a little iCubs action.
Woo! Go Cubs!
From the field to the stands and even the announcer's booth, I touch them all. Plus, for good measure, I call up a Cubs Hall of Famer.
Watch One Day Getaway
on MCG Channel 12.
Hello, friends. My name is Stuart Farnaby, and I'm the host of The Kids Show. There are lots of fun things on this show. Nature, music, songs, stories, and more. Watch The Kids Show, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. and Saturdays and Sundays at 8:30 a.m. on MCG 12. I'll see you on The Kids Show. Bye-bye now. Bye.
This week's sports, we check in with the Oskaloosa High baseball and softball programs as they began the 2010 conference portion of their schedule. Here's CRI sports reporter Jason Madison.
Thanks, Patrick. The Oskaloosa High baseball team has had no trouble this season keeping their eye on the ball. The 3-6 Indians hit 11 in a loss to Martinsdale St. Mary's and 14 in a win against Eddyville Blakesburg, but Oski still had 0 in their home run column. The drought ended last Wednesday when the duo of Jacob McDowell and Jake McCrae cleared the fence multiple times in an 8-4 win over Grinnell in Little Hawkeye Conference action. Oskaloosa had 11 hits in the game as McDowell and McCrae contributed 5 of them combined. The Indians then suffered back-to-back losses against conference rivals Norwalk and Ottumwa over the weekend. But on Monday night, Oskaloosa bounced back in a big way, sneaking past Pella 6-4 in conference action. Mr. Reliable, Jacob McDowell, blasted his 3rd home run of the season and drove in 3 runs for the Indians. Austin Westerkamp had a double and a triple to highlight the attack by the Indians. Unfortunately, Oskaloosa couldn't mirror the magic from the night before as the Indians were blanked twice by Mount Pleasant in Tuesday's doubleheader. On the girls' side over the weekend, rain forced some minor changes during the Oskaloosa Softball Classic, but it didn't matter as the Indians scattered numerous hits against Twin Cedars and Jessup. The Indians, 5-7 on the year, tallied 18 hits in the 11-2 win over the Sabres, while earning 7 hits in a victory over the Jayhawks. The second game was later called after 4.5 innings due to lightning. Then on Tuesday in Washington, Oskaloosa's momentum from the weekend was halted after losing the first game of the non-conference doubleheader to Washington 9-2. As things began to look bright for Oskaloosa, holding a 4-run lead heading into the final inning of the second game, the window of opportunity was shut instantly as the Demons scored 5 runs on just 3 hits and went on to complete the sweep 6-5. That's it for this week's CRI Sports. I'm Jason Madison.
Thanks, Jason. For all Oskaloosa and William Penn sports action, check out the replays of OSP on Thursday nights at 8 p.m., Friday nights at 6 p.m., Saturdays at 10:30 a.m., and Sundays at 5 p.m. on MCG Channel 7, or check out J&J online at www.criwmpennu.org under the Sports Pulse link. George Daly's Summer Theater Camp begins Monday, June 14th and is open to all children ages 7 to 15. There will be 9 one-week sessions throughout the summer, and campers are welcome to attend as many sessions as they like. The cost for camp is $65 per week, and scholarships are available to families in need. Camp will be held at the George Daly Auditorium Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. with free public performances every Friday at 2 p.m. For more information, call 641-672-0799 or send an email to dailyyouththeater@gmail.com. The Stephen Memorial Animal Shelter here in Mahaska County is always working to find homes for animals. Currently, the shelter houses about 50 pets. CRI reporter Trish Clark tells us about some animals waiting for new homes.
I'm here at the Stephen Memorial Animal Shelter, and I know how much everyone loves dogs. But this week, we have a few felines inside looking for adoptive homes. Let's go check them out. Meet Celeste. Celeste is an 8-month-old gray and white tiger domestic short-haired female. She was brought into the shelter as a stray last month. Her idea of having fun is walking around in circles. But be advised, she can get a little feisty. This is Sadie and Shane. Both are 3-month-old black domestic short-haired kittens. These two lovable kittens have been calling the shelter home since April, but with your help, they could soon be calling your house home. Sadie and Shane are both very curious and love attention. For CRI Weekly News, I'm Trish Clark, and those were your Pets of the Week.
All animals are spayed or neutered and receive their shots. Dogs range in costs from $80 to $125, and cats range in costs from $50 to $85. For more information, call the shelter at 641-673-3991. Now to this week's film review. Here are CRI film critics Jacob Rosdale and John Hoffman with their review of Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. This movie is rated PG-13 for intense sequences of violence and action.
Releasing the sand turns back time. Only the holder of the dagger is aware of what's happened. Did you see that?
In Disney's latest action spectacle, director Mike Newell and producer Jerry Bruckheimer take us to the land of Persia, a land of excitement, magical daggers, and British accents. It's Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. Disney struck gold doubloons a few summers ago with one of the biggest hits of all time, Pirates of the Caribbean. That one was adapted from a theme park attraction. This year, Disney's trying to apply the same formula, which would be swashbuckling plus romance plus CGI, by adapting a video game, Prince of Persia. Now, John, you've played the game before, right?
Yeah, I played the original game. I was not very good at it, and the graphics were very 1989. Since then, the story has continued within about a dozen games over the last 20 years, with the last one being released last May.
So, John, is watching the movie as fun as playing the game?
No, I think the games were a lot more fun, even though they were pretty difficult. But what I really liked about this movie is the way that it adapted the video game to the screen.
Take it there, Dastan.
Traditionally, movies based on video games are not very good. There have been movies made on such popular games as Doom, Street Fighter, and even the Super Mario Brothers. By default, I think Prince of Persia, which has a charming cast and some riveting action, is probably the best video game movie ever made. But what that means is it's more mediocre than super awful.
Yeah, you're right on, Jacob. I think it's more of a nostalgia thing. If you played the video game, you're going to want to see the movie, good or bad. In our case, I think we landed maybe somewhere right in the middle.
The dagger must be found.
You've got time control, crazy stunts, save the girl, all those good things I like. One bad thing, there's nothing really spectacular about this film. All that said, it's worth the price of admission.
I think it has its charms. I think Jake Gyllenhaal, even though he doesn't look Persian at all, is pretty good in it. I made fun of the British accents earlier. There's a few plot holes, but still, if you like, say, the Mummy movies or Pirates of the Caribbean, like I mentioned, it rips off Indiana Jones quite a bit, despite being hundreds of years earlier. I will say it's worth the price of admission.
What happened this week in history? Well, CRI's high school reporter Gabe Burns will fill you in.
And this week in history, on June 9th, 1954, Senator Joseph McCarthy met his match.
McCarthy was a Republican senator who gained fame and power by claiming communists had infiltrated the U.S. government. Because of his often unsubstantiated allegations, many well-known Americans, including Charlie Chaplin and Lee Grant, were blacklisted and lost their jobs in the early 1950s. McCarthy finally lost support of fellow Republicans when he accused the Army of being too soft on communism. At the now famous congressional hearing, the senator was confronted by attorney Joseph Welch after McCarthy accused one of Welch's associates of being a communist.
Until this moment, Senator, I think I never really gauged your cruelty or your recklessness. Done enough. Have you no sense of decency, sir? At long last, have you left no sense of decency?
The crowd burst into cheers, marking the end of Joseph McCarthy's power during the Red Scare. During the next 2 years, McCarthy became an alcoholic and died in 1957. And that was This Week in History.
Thanks, Gabe. That's our show for the week, but before we go, we'd like to invite you to be a part of next week's show by submitting one of your own photographs. This week's photo is another submission from Oski resident Ann Fender. This picture was taken while flying over Lake Red Rock. Thanks for the photo, Ann. To submit your photo, please email it to info@criwnpnu.org and include a brief description. Be sure to tune in to replays of this show airing tonight at 9 p.m., every Saturday and Sunday at noon, 6, and 9 p.m. on MCG Channel 12. And remember, you can watch all of CRI's programming, including this show, online at www.criwnpnu.org. From all of us at the Communication Research Institute of William Penn University, I'm Patrick Boberg. Thank you for watching, and have a good night.